Hello and welcome one and all, blessings on you and your families. How is everyone today? My name is Grandpa Elroy and I'm the official keeper of secrets and truths at the North Pole, and I am an elf. I am also the official storyteller of the North Pole. And do I have a new one for you today? Santa has finally grown tired of all the false rumors out there and false stories and movies of him using reindeer. It just ain't true. Santa's reindeer is a giant hippo that's blue and her name is Vixen, and today I'm going to tell you her story. It all starts 3 years before the first Christmas, in a small city not too far from where Santa was born. Of course Santa didn't move to the North Pole till year 3 of Christmas, but that is another story. And in this small city lived a greedy rich man who only wanted to get richer. He wanted to draw more people to his town and marketplace so he could make more money, so he hired a circus with animals that no one in that country had ever seen before. They had lions, tigers, bears, rhinos, giraffes, gorillas, hippos, buffaloes, and many other exotic birds and small animals. It was all the talk, all the wonder at first, but after a time the people stopped coming, and a lot of the animals didn't take kindly to the cold weather. It was that last bleak winter of the circus when Vixen was born. The rich man had been selling off the animals to private collectors, hunters, and even restaurants with owners who wanted to buy meat by the pound, like with the buffaloes and hippos. It was on the way of Vixen and her parents to be delivered for food when a blizzard hit that lasted for 2 days. By the time it was over, everything was covered in snow. A few days later, when things started to thaw out, a man, who in less than 3 years would become Santa, was walking into the village that was near his house when he noticed a very sad sight: those poor hippos and horses frozen in the snow. He stood there a moment to shed a few tears. What is that? Are there rats already feeding on the hippos? No, it's something else, and it's stuck under the hippos. So Santa gets some branches to leverage the hippos, and out comes crawling and squirming and crying, a baby hippo. It was Vixen. Her parents had used their bodies to save her life. She was too big for Santa to carry, so he used most of the day to build a wheelbarrow from some of the parts from the cart. Santa is a very skilled builder. Some say magic guides his hands when he builds toys for children. Santa then took Vixen back to his home, but Santa didn't know the first thing about hippos, so he sent a raven with a note to his old friend Valgar. Valgar is the chief of the last tribe of elves that lived in hiding in the mountains north of Santa's home. By nightfall the next day, Valgar had shown up with his daughter Helen, who fell in love with Vixen upon first sight and begged Santa to let her be Vixen's caregiver. So she started taking care of Vixen and nursing her back to health. At first Vixen was very sad over the loss of her parents. She thought she was all alone and barely ate her food. Helen tried everything to get Vixen to smile and eat or play with her. She played peekaboo, she played music, and tried to get Vixen to dance, but Vixen just ran away crying. Helen tried bringing Vixen toys like teddy bears and soccer balls. Vixen would just stare at her with a blank look. Then after a few weeks it came time to give Vixen a bath, and Helen decided in order to get Vixen up out of the little pool the elves had made her in Santa's shed, she would try her own favorite fruit, watermelon. She brought 3 big juicy watermelons and set one at the edge of the pool, and one where she planned on scrubbing Vixen down, and one she slowly placed by Vixen in the pool, and then she walked away and waited. Vixen just stared at her. Helen waited as the watermelon bobbed up and down for the first 5 minutes. Then it settled in next to Vixen and she finally looked over at it. As Helen waited she hummed softly, just loud enough for Vixen to hear her. Finally Vixen was hungry as she finally sniffed it. Then she licked the watermelon. Then she opened her mouth and chomped down on her watermelon. Some of it came squirting out the side of her mouth. It made Helen giggle and Vixen looked at her as if surprised by the sound, but it didn't stop Vixen from eating the watermelon. And then looking at the edge of the pool where the next one was, slowly Vixen made her way to the watermelon. Again as Vixen chopped down on the watermelon some squirted out her mouth. And again Helen giggled, and this time when Vixen looked at her she smiled ever so slightly. As Vixen headed over after the last melon, Helen readied her scrub brush and soapy water. Just as Vixen started to eat the last watermelon, Helen started scrubbing Vixen. And to both of their surprises, Vixen liked it, and even leaned in a little to let Helen know to brush a little harder. After a nice long scrubbing and not forgetting to rub Vixen's belly, Vixen and Helen looked deep into each other's eyes and knew they would be best friends. Vixen and Helen would spend much of the next few years side by side. Just like on the first few days of Vixen's first spring, the two of them would have one of many little adventures. Vixen and Helen were running through fields of fresh wildflowers just behind Santa's house, smiling and laughing, as they raced towards the creek at the back of the field, where the forest started. Of course, Helen let little Vixen win by pretending to trip just before they got to the creek. Vixen let out a loud hooray as she jumped into the creek, but she was quickly backed out again as the water was still winter cold. They walked along the creek looking at the little fish and tadpoles in the water, the birds chirping in the air. After a time, the creek bent to go back in the forest and Helen said it was time to head back, but Vixen saw a rabbit in the forest, and wanted to see what other cute animals were in there. Helen said another time, and just as they turned to leave, they heard the scream for help coming from up the creek in the forest, and then a loud cry with more calls for help. Vixen was scared. Helen told her to wait there while she checked it out, but as her best friend Helen went along the creek deeper into the forest, Vixen slowly followed, and as they came around the first bend in the creek, they could see two human children crying and pointing in the water their puppy had fallen in, and they were too little to save it. So Vixen rushed over and jumped in, swimming to the puppy and letting the little soaked thing climb on her head. As she swam it over to the kids, who were overjoyed at not only having their little puppy back, but at getting to see and hug and climb on Vixen, who was their new hero. The four of them played together with a puppy for hours, until the children's parents came looking for them 'cause it was time for dinner. The four of them played many afternoons by the creek on the side of the forest, sometimes hide and seek, others they would just sit and watch and listen to the animals. As spring turned to summer, Vixen, who was not yet done growing, had doubled in size. And now that it was summer, Vixen was ready to try a new treat. Her friend Helen would talk about when she would tell stories of camping and campfires. She wanted to try s'mores, so it was a few days into the summer that Vixen, Santa, Valgar, and Helen set out for a clearing, a few hours into the woods, to set up a camp. A nice spot by the creek that Valgar and Helen had gone to every year since Helen was 5. She was 139 that year, just a preteen in elf years. As Santa and Valgar set up camp, Helen and Vixen went down to the creek to go for a swim. After a few minutes of splashing, and then a race from one side to the other, Helen and Vixen decided to lay back and float, and watch the clouds and try to figure out what they look like. Of course, Vixen, being a hippo, was a natural floater, but Helen had to tie together several water skins she had filled with air to help her float. As they floated, they called out what they thought the clouds looked like. "There's a lion," Vixen called, "and a swan over there," said Helen. After a while, they looked up and noticed they had floated way down away from the camp, so much so that they couldn't see it, and weren't sure how far they had gone. They climbed out of the water and decided to listen to see what they could hear. Maybe Valgar or Santa setting up camp, but nothing. They figured they better head back before the adults get worried. But just after they had taken a few steps, they heard what sounded like a little screech and a scream. What was that, they wondered? There it was again, and it came from the other side of the big tree that was right in front of them. Vixen was scared. She was shaking. Some of the elves had told her of old monsters that lived in the forest, but Helen had told her most of the stories weren't true, and the few that were hundreds of thousands of years old tales of old world things that are long gone. But it was all she could think of at that moment, a monster. And then it came around the tree, or more rather fell around the tree. Helen rushed to pick it up and keep it from hurting itself even more. It was a baby snow owl with a broken wing. Helen used a little of her elf magic to calm the baby, and started rocking it and singing to it. As they walked back to the camp, they learned the baby's name is Rose. She was born in the wrong season for her kind, and the barn she had lived in with her parents had burned down, and they had got separated. Then a falcon had tried to get her. That is how her wing got hurt. And that the falcon was scared off by her two new heroes, Helen and Vixen. As Helen told all this to Valgar and Santa, Vixen's face turned all red because she knew she had been scared, but now they were all safe eating s'mores. Vixen and Helen spent most of the rest of the summer working with Rose as she healed, and got ready to fly again. Finally one day in the fall she was ready and she took off in the sky. She was gone so long that Vixen and Helen worried she wouldn't come back, or worse. But just as they were about to go back inside there came Rose, and she told them all she'd seen, and most interesting was this little village not too far away that was preparing for a festival or holiday. Rose wasn't sure. Helen knew it was time for Halloween, and both Rose and Vixen wanted in on the fun. So Helen promised to take them. Helen told them how you dress up in costumes and they decided to do a group costume. Vixen would dress up as a reindeer, and pull the sleigh, and Helen would dress up as a fancy lady, and Rose would be a little butler. Just before they left, Santa wanted to give Vixen a present he made for her birthday. He knew it was early, but he felt it would look great with her outfit. It was a big red shining lightly glowing bell, that he and Valgar had crafted and engraved with protection and a few other charm spells. And they had crafted a white gold chain so she could wear it as a necklace. She swore it was so beautiful she was never taking it off. As they paraded down the main street of the little village where the festival was, Helen would introduce them as, "My driver Rudolph the red-belled reindeer," she would say as she pointed at Vixen. "And this is my butler Krampus," as she pointed to Rose, who had insisted she have horns like her hero Vixen and a cape like her other hero Helen. "And I am the saint of peace and joy, come to bless your happy festival." It was such a grand time for them all, except a little mishap at the end of the night, when a man who had had a little too much to drink almost stepped on Krampus, Rose. She then flew into the sky, causing him to fall over, dropping his lantern and hitting his head. Luckily the fire caused by the lantern was only a tiny bush, and the man passed out right there unharmed. When he woke the next day, it took him 3 days to find his kids. They had gone to his sister's house on the other side of the village, and thus started the legend of Krampus taking kids and what would later be Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer. Again, those are other stories. Today we are talking about Vixen. When that next winter came around, Vixen went with Santa as he visited several villages in the area to trade supplies. Santa had also brought with him a few toys he had made to try and sell. But the reason they had to go to several villages is because it was hard times. Just to get the supplies to last through the spring, no one village had enough to share or sell or buy toys. Each village gave what they could, and Santa paid them and gave each of their kids a toy. That made Santa smile so big and laugh to see the kids smile who barely stayed warm and barely ate, to give them some joy in this world. And as they went village to village, he had never seen it so bad. It made Santa so sad. Vixen went home and told Helen all about it, and they told Valgar and Santa that they had to do something about it, especially since Helen was a saint of peace and joy. Vixen teased her, and that made them laugh. But what can we do, they thought. It wasn't until that next spring, when they were once again outside playing with their human friends in the woods by the creek, that they came up with what to do. It was late spring night, almost summer, when Vixen and Helen were rushing back to Santa's house to tell him and Valgar their great plan. They explained that their friends had a cousin in one of the villages where a couple of the kids had got toys, and they were hoping you would make them some toys. But Vixen and Helen wanted to make enough toys to give to all the poor kids that lived in the area. As they said it, a few tears rolled down Santa's cheek. Vulgar had spoken up and said with elf magic he and his kin could make enough toys for all the kids in this country in a couple of days, he bragged. At this Santa chuckled because he knew there was no way to say no to his loved ones, especially if it was for helping others, if only to have a little faith and hope and joy. They decided that next year, midwinter trek trade, that instead of 6 villages they would do 30, and all the country kids in between those villages. With a little help from some elf magic and magic Santa and Valgar had put in Vixen's bell, they could do it all in one night. And no one would know who did it. But as with all great plans, nothing goes perfect until you have a few years' practice. So they showed Vixen how to use a couple of the spells in her bell. One to turn invisible, not only herself but any sleigh she is pulling, and anything or anyone in it. And how to move very, very fast, and how to freeze time. And that it was very important not to abuse especially this last power. Valgar and Helen had made a red cloak for Santa, one that would allow him to turn any size he wanted to. And they made one last bag, promised never to be made by the people again, 'cause it could be used for evil. But this one time they trusted the spirit. It was a big red bag of holding. You can put anything in there and everything in there, and it's like it's gone, but the owner of the sack calls to mind what's in the sack he wants and reaches in, and out comes what you put in like out of thin air. So on that first non-Christmas, the original trial run, that they were seen several times that night. Like when Santa was sneaking back out of a house, instead of shrinking to fit out of the cracks in the door, he grew and tripped over his foot and knocked the front door off the house. Valgar, who was hiding outside the house, quickly used his elf magic to fix the door, but not before the man of the house got a glimpse of Santa getting in the sleigh, before Vixen used her magic to move on to the next house. Or just a couple of houses later, when the front yard was icy and Vixen bumped into the front of the house, waking everyone, and Santa was seen by everyone in the house, 3 kids and parents, who Santa put to sleep with a little sleeping powder. This is how the rumor of "you better be asleep when he showed" started. And then there was one where they thought everyone was asleep but peeked in, and a little kid saw Santa picking in the window, and this is where "Santa is watching us" comes from. Or when they were about halfway done and finishing the last house at Village 15, when a pack of dogs started barking, and half the village swore they seen something. A lot of red and fat was thrown around there for years to come. As the tales changed and grew, not all good, not all were happy. At first some adults didn't like a man coming in their house at night. This is the reason that in just 2 years from then Santa and all the elves will move to the North Pole. But that is another story, and I said, this is a Vixen story. Vixen and Helen and Rose couldn't wait to play with their friends that next spring, and hear them talk about their toys, but before that they had work to do. Santa and Valgar worked with Vixen on how to use the flying spell they had put in, using elf magic and the magic of Santa's saint hands. They also decided that next year they would do the whole country, and who knew, maybe someday the whole world. But next year they would settle for their country, and that would put in concrete the legend of Santa Claus, but not poor Vixen, and this is her story we are telling today. One thing she knew was that a night of bringing happiness and peace and joy was hard work on her. She was tired and sore, and then came the training for next year, and she felt like she had just got done training for this year. But she was determined and ready day in and day out with very little whining. Santa and Valgar seen this, and they said that 2 weeks before Christmas that they would send Vixen and Helen and Rose to the spa for a week to relax and get pampered. Vixen's only question was what was a spa, and oh how Helen laughed and said only a woman's best friend a spa day. But Vixen looked her straight in the face and said, but you are my best friend, and I'm not yours, and a tear rolled down her cheek. Helen, still smiling and trying to hold back her laughter, said to Vixen as she grabbed her face, a spa is not a person, it's a place. Just wait, you'll see, we'll have so much fun there, just us girls. And then that made Vixen and Rose happy and jumped for joy. Oh how Helen was right, the hot bath, the massage, the stretching, the food, the steam rooms, the place even had a lazy river the girls spent hours every day in. Vixen was in paradise. None of them were ready to go, a little sad to leave. But then they thought of how their human friends have been so happy with their gifts, and promised to always keep their friends' secrets, and how much they wanted to do that for so many more people. And after Santa, Vixen, Helen, Valgar, and the last tribes of the elves moved to the North Pole, things were great for many years. The area grew year after year that they covered along with their stories. It wasn't until a few years ago when Vixen went to check in on some of the descendants of the children she played with as a kid. Her and Helen had kept up with them and their family down through the years. And it was at one such stop by that she heard as she peered in the window. It was an elderly man telling this to his grandchildren. We've all heard the story of Santa's reindeer. Well, it just ain't true. Santa's sleigh is pulled by a giant hippo that's blue, and instead of antlers on top of her head, she has a bell around her neck, and as her red bell rings it glows, letting out Merry Christmas notes everywhere she goes. She moves ever so fast and she is super light on her toes. From rooftop to rooftop she hops, seemingly dances as she goes, and loves to play in the snow and turning herself into a snowman. She is a pro. Didn't you ever wonder who helped Santa eat all those cookies and gobbling them down? She is no rookie. Chasing them down with eggnog and hot chocolate and extra chocolate and marshmallows on top of it. There is only one thing she loves more than cookies and snow, and that is a good scrubbing by Santa's elves, just so when they're done she is aglow, especially if they get her underbelly. It makes her eyes roll. And if you're wondering, her name is Vixen, and at pulling the sleigh she has only one conviction: to make children happy, and if you try to stop her she will get real scrappy. When she is not at work she loves to spend her days napping in her pool. Just a thought of sleeping in her bed made her drool. When she is not eating cookies she is eating fruit. Her favorite is watermelon, brought to her by her best friend the elf Helen. Out in the snow she loves to play running, chasing the elves at least 1 hour a day, and when they are done she is ready for bed. Another Christmas delivery dancing in her head, children laughing and playing with toys she helped deliver. One thing is for sure, Vixen is a blessed giver. Vixen loves Christmas, and Santa, and you, so smile thinking of Vixen so shiny blue. One last thing Vixen wants you to know. Be good this year, or come Christmas, your house, she just won't go. Remember, Vixen is praying for you and all your happiness, just so. Merry Christmas. As he finished his story, every face in the house was aglow with happiness, and Vixen couldn't keep the tears of joy from rolling down her face. But as she flew home to the North Pole that night she grew sad again, like she hadn't been in years since she was a baby, because most people didn't know the truth. When Vixen got home she met up with Helen for a cup of hot chocolate. As they were talking about what Vixen had seen that day, Santa walked in. And a few minutes later Santa said, "By God, you are right, it is time to end all these false rumors of flying reindeer," and at that they all had to laugh. Well children, this is where today's story's over, but remember to come back, cause next time Grandpa Elroy is going to tell you the story of Helen the Saint. Have a blessed day, and remember, Grandpa Elroy is praying for you. Hello once again, and blessings on you and your family. Hope all is blessed in everyone's lives. For those who don't remember, I'm Grandpa Elroy, and I'm the official keeper of secrets and truths at the North Pole. I'm an elf. I'm also the official storyteller of the North Pole. Some people have been sending me letters and asking to know more about Helen the elf. So I asked her and Santa, and they said it was okay if I shared some of the stories of Helen's amazing life of being a saint to animals. like Vixen and Rose, but those are only a couple of the animals Helen has befriended. Today we share some more of the tales like the little lost fox. His name was Joe. He didn't know which way to go, so many things had gone wrong. He was chased by dogs and attacked by an eagle. Shot at by a human, but then huddled crying next to a tree. Helen found him a red fox. He was not much more than 6 months old. She brought him home and fed him and put him to bed. His nerves were shot after a few days of rest and good food and friendship. Joe and Helen tried to find Joe's parents. But Joe couldn't remember which way to go or how far it was, and he started to cry again. Helen picked little Joe up and started humming and rocking him in her arms. Just as little Joe started to calm down, a blue jay flew up and sat on a branch next to them. "Hello, Billy," Helen said to the blue jay. "Hello," said Billy the blue jay. "Say, is that a fox named Joe? By the way, me and some other birds are looking for a lost fox named Joe." At this, little Joe's head shot up. "My parents are looking for me," he said. Off Helen and Joe ran chasing after Billy the blue jay. About 30 minutes later, little Joe and his parents were dancing and laughing and crying. All so happy to be back together. Little Joe's parents were so grateful to Helen, and they called her a saint of animal kind. That was only one time, in fact only one of many times she would be called a saint of animals. I do recall the very first time she was ever called a saint of animals. She was only 4 years old. Her and her father Valgar were out for Helen's first time outside of their magic-protected elf village. Valgar was pointing out different flowers. Some were helpful, others were harmful, and some were just pretty. Helen loved the pretty ones. As Valgar had moved forward talking about some of the trees, Helen had fallen behind to watch the bees dance on the pretty flowers. Just then a bear came running at Helen, growling and snarling the whole way. Valgar was just too far away to save her. Valgar looked at Helen, and she was standing there with open arms and humming loudly. Just as the bear got to her, it stopped and sat down. Then Valgar watched as Helen pulled several porcupine coils from the bear's legs. Then it appeared that Helen and the bear were talking. A few minutes later the bear got up and left. Valgar rushed over to Helen and scooped her up in his arms. "What was all that he said?" Helen just giggled. Poor Koyo the bear was after some honey. When he jumped down from the tree he was climbing, he landed on the porcupine. Just then several elves from the village came over, and many had seen what happened. One of the elders said that she had only heard of 3 elves ever having been able to talk to animals. Since Helen had helped, she was known as a saint to animals. She had found her purpose. All elves have a purpose, a life goal, or better yet a way of life personalized. That is just the way it is, but that is another story. Back to Helen's story. The second time in Helen's life she was called a saint to animals was just a few years later in the middle of the village. Helen was trying to get one of the adults to play with her, but they were all busy running around doing daily chores. So Helen just started dancing and humming to herself, and as she danced a butterfly started to fly around dancing around her, then 2, then 3 butterflies, then dozens. That's when the adults, who had been too busy to even talk before, all stopped and watched in wonder and amazement as hundreds of butterflies danced around the dancing Helen. Helen, who thought no one was watching, had closed her eyes while she had been dancing and humming. After a while Helen grew a little dizzy and she stopped dancing and opened her eyes. She saw all the butterflies and everyone watching. At first she was embarrassed, but then she saw the look of joy and hope on their faces. Then Valgar walked over and picked her up. He said, "My little saint of joy and peace." This made Helen giggle. She loved to giggle. Helen was a very happy baby elf. It wasn't until 10 years later, when Helen was a toddler, that a tragedy struck. Helen's mom had been out collecting moondust when some humans who were after the unicorn she was riding attacked. Valgar and Helen were very saddened by the loss of her mother. Helen, a few days later, out for a walk in the village, was very sad and started to cry. She found a hollowed-out tree and climbed inside to cry. She lay there crying. A small bunny climbed in with her to cuddle, then a turtle. Then a few birds came to sing her a song. By the time Valgar found her, she was asleep, cuddled up with a dozen different animals. When Valgar told this to the council of elders, they all agreed that Helen was the saint of animals. As Helen turned from a toddler to a young child, she grew more adventurous and traveled farther and farther outside of the protected area of the village. She met and talked with many of the local animals like the rabbits and deer, and even an old vegan wolf that was always making Helen giggle. They had such amazing conversations. Helen was most proud of her friendship with a grumpy old bear. Helen called him just because if the animals would just get past his grumpy ways they would see he's a good guy. One winter when he was hibernating she crawled in every day for 2 weeks. She brushed and cleaned and then braided his hair. Helen hoped it would make him happy when he woke, but oh how he did get mad and yell and roll about and even tore up a couple of bushes and a tree. All as Helen watched and giggled. When just was done he looked at Helen and said, "Helen, saint of animals, my fur." This made Helen laugh, and when she started to laugh so did just. It was about a week later when Helen was on a trip with her dad, in the Northern Ocean near the ice caps of the area not too far from what would one day be the North Pole. Home of Santa and the elves, but that is another story. Today we are telling the story of Helen the Saint. Today Helen had seen a whale and was leaning on the rail of the boat, as a whale nudged the bottom of the boat. Helen fell overboard but no one saw her fall, and by the time she was back up out the water and then caught her breath, the boat was too far away to hear her screams. The water was freezing. She used some of her elf magic to warm her body and started humming. A few seconds later she felt herself being lifted out of the water. She looked down and was amazed that a whale had come to her rescue here. She rolled over on her belly and giggled and gave Betty the whale a big hug. As Betty carried Helen she told Helen how much she loved her humming, how it gave her such peace and joy. After about an hour they caught up to the boat as it was landing. Helen stood up on Betty and yelled to her father, Valgar, who was very relieved to see his daughter safe and sound. He was astounded to see her riding a whale, but when it came to his daughter and animals he knew anything was possible. Why, I remembered just last week when me and my granddaughter Helen— oh that's right, did I not tell you that's me, your storyteller? Grandpa Elroy is Helen's grandpa. Yes, we are best friends. Oh, do I have a ton of stories about her, but back to what happened last week. Before I forget, you got to remember Grandpa Elroy is 18,347 years old, but this story isn't about me. Just last week me and my granddaughter Helen were on a vacation in Hawaii. It was our first time there. We saw many cool things and we had a lot of fun. If you ask Helen what was her best part of the trip, she'll tell you her silly grandpa. But I tell you, it was when we were swimming and Helen started humming and all of a sudden it was like the ocean came alive. Full of giant green sea turtles and dolphins all swimming and dancing around us. In the water it was beautiful. Something out of the dream world came true, true inner magic. Would you like to hear a little poem I wrote years ago for Helen? Helen the Saint, friend to animal kind. She helps them all, even the small and the blind. With a caring hand and a tender word, one winter she watched over the eggs of an almost extinct bird. She gives her heart to them one and all, even the grumpy old bears who sleep all winter and yell at everyone in the fall. When she hums and dances in the meadow, the butterflies come to play, and at night the fireflies love to light her way. She brings peace and joy everywhere she goes. Every time I see her my face glows. She's been deep down in holes, getting dirty and grimy with the moles. She's been up ever so high, with the eagles in the sky. She loves to eat her grandpa's homemade ice cream, but she has to remember not to give it to the animals or their stomachs will scream. Every morning she loves to wake up and tell some new animal her last night's dreams. She believes in sharing them, that with help, good or bad, she can face them with a great team. She loves to go walking with the animals in the woods, and I'd be wary of any hunter wearing hoods. She'll call together a mighty team of bats and wolves and bears to make you scream, but she would rather spend her days laughing and giggling with her best friends Rose and Vixen, who are like her siblings. Together eating watermelon or by campfire eating s'mores. One thing Helen doesn't care for at all is doing her chores. But her job she really does love. It fits her perfectly like a glove. Head elf of toy design, she never fails to meet deadline. When they are done with work for the year, she takes all her workers for a double hot chocolate and a happy new year. With a hip hip hooray and a good cheer all around, they knew they were blessed with good friends around. But before the night is through, Helen is thinking of the beautiful green view. With all the bright colors that start to bloom, and all the baby animals to be born soon. With hopes she can meet and make friends with them all. Last spring she counted she had 300 more by next fall. Late one night every year on a hot summer day, she throws a big party deep in the woods for all her friends to play. If you aren't invited and trying to find it, you sure get lost. For it's surrounded in a temporary mist of freezing frost. But one thing Helen wants you to know is be kind to animals and let your inner light glow. Helen the Saint is praying for you and peace and harmony and joy for you and your family too. Blessings on you. Grandpa Elroy really hopes you enjoy his rhymes, but back to the story of Helen the Saint to animal kind. Like the time Helen moved to Africa for about 8 years living deep in gorilla territory. She brokered a peace treaty between them and 3 gangs of chimpanzees that lived on the other side of the same mountain. While she was there, she loved to swing through the giant trees on the vines, and as she swung she would let out her inner animal yell. Many stories have been started because of this, but the stories are all wrong. Most tell of a wild man raised by gorillas, some say wolves and some say it was a child, but now you know the truth. It was just Helen being young, free and a little wild. It was shortly after this that she would move back home and befriend Vixen the hippo reindeer, but first she made a stop at the South Pole, where she spent a week partying with some penguins, after saving several of them from a hungry sea lion. On the last day of the party, a few seals showed up and they brought their visiting friend the snowhawk. They all had a grand time singing and dancing and eating fish stew. As you can see, Helen is truly a saint to animal kind, the whole world through to one and all. But she is so much more than a friend, a daughter and a granddaughter, who we all love and are blessed to have in our life. Well, that's all this time, but come back again, for I'm sure I have a few more stories for you that you've never heard. Until next time, Grandpa Elroy says stay blessed, and I can't wait to see you next time. What do you think my next story should be about? I wrote this book for my 3 daughters Nikki and Noy and Blefany. May all of you be forever strong and beautiful. I love all 3 of you. Working on this book has been fun. I'm hoping you are waiting for what is next. Hello and welcome once again to Story Time at the North Pole. I am Grandpa Elroy and I'm an elf. So far, I have told you the stories of the hippo reindeer and Helen the Saint. But today I'm going to tell you the story of the first snowman ever. It was actually several snow people of many shapes and sizes. A whole village of them were made to look like all the races and different creatures of the land. They all had houses. There was even a snow dragon with a cave at the end of the village. This was the original wonder of the world. It was built by a group of people from different races. Elves, dwarfs, giants, even some of what would later be dark, evil races helped, like the goblins and orcs, and they all put in their heart and magic. When they were all done, they came together and had a celebration, with dancing and music and a feast of all kinds of fruits. The celebration lasted for 8 days. On the 9th day everyone left except one person. It was the first albino pixie. Her name was Tulip. Tulip took her time walking around talking to all the snow people as if they were her new best friends. As she talked to them, she imagined that each one had its own life, and she gave each one a backstory. Tulip walked around enjoying the village and the people by herself for 8 days, laughing, smiling, enjoying the stories she had created for the snow. On the 9th day she was awakened by a snow puppy licking her face. "What? Oh my, what is that, you Flakes? How?" said Tulip. "Flakes, Flakes, where did you go, boy?" she heard somebody call. As she got up and followed Flakes around the corner, she saw several of the snow people and they were moving and talking for real. "Johnny, is that you and Mozzie and Little C?" "Hi, I'm Tulip," said Tulip. Johnny was a snow human boy and Mozzie was a snow elf child. C was a toddler goblin female and Flakes was her dog. What are you getting away from them kids now? Help, help, come quick, a stranger is trying to take our kids," said Mother Onul. Mother Onul was the town teacher. She didn't have any kids of her own. She was the only giant cave troll that lived in the village of the North Pole. Of course, this is almost 1,000,000 years before Santa Vixen and the last tribes will move here. Mother Onul was special because most giant cave trolls weren't very smart. In fact, most are very stupid, to be blunt about it. But Mother Onul was the smartest person I had ever met. Mother Onul scooped the kids up in one hand and Flakes in the other and ran down the one lane of the village. "Wait, Mother Onul, it's me Tulip, I'm a friend," said Tulip. But they didn't hear her because others were coming screaming about what was going on. Tulip looked around. Tulip had awoken one end of the North Pole. Several of the adult male snow people were coming at her. Most of the snow people were gathering on the other side of town next to the snow cave. The first snowman to grab Tulip was Utar, the male orc snow person, and then Yaw, the male human father of Johnny. Yaw was the carpenter of the village, and Utar was the town chieftain. The three others that soon crowded around Tulip were Odie, Alab, and Etwok. Odie was the town baker and a dwarf father of Abby and married to Callie. Alab was the village doctor and a goblin and the father of Little C. Etwok was the village crafter, and he was an elf, a dark star elf. Dark star elves came to Earth on a pirate ship from the original world sent by the Creator to save creation after he had sacrificed himself to give free will light. But that is a different story. Today we are telling the story of the first snow people and creation of the North Pole. One of them pulled at her so hard she fell down. As they were dragging her back up, she was grabbing anything trying to get away. There was only snow, so Tulip made a snowball and threw it in the face of Utar, who was picking her up. This is where Tulip learned her first snow person secret, or in this case a weakness. Snow people can't help but join in a snowball fight once one starts. Tulip was immediately hit with a snowball from several snow people, and then they all started to throw them at each other, and they all started to laugh. Before she realized it, many of the snow people had built little snow forts, and large piles of snowballs appeared everywhere as if out of thin air. Even the women and children and snow animals all started to get in on the fun. As the snow people ran around, there were snowballs flying everywhere. Tulip dove in the nearest fort, which appeared empty. She grabbed several snowballs and started to throw them. As she threw her last snowball, she saw Little C was heading into heavy fire, so she rushed in and grabbed Little C and dove into another fort as the dragon dropped a giant snowball on the center of the village, where it hit many snow people, causing much laughter. As most of the town moved to dig out their buried friends, they all started to whisper about the stranger. "You saved me," said Little C. As Little C was hugging Tulip, several snow people came over, including Grandpa Rex. Grandpa Rex was every snow person's grandpa, and he was a T-Rex. The Tulip isn't bad. In fact, I think we should celebrate her with a little rhyme. "How about it, my dear?" said Grandpa Rex. Every snow person looked over to Grandma T-Tops, who was a Triceratops, and the grandma to all snow people, and she said this: "We all love to play in the snow, each flake individually beautiful just so. You can catch one in your hand, or if you're lucky on your tongue one might land. The snow will cover the scene, the snow can make the world look like a dream. You can build a great house out of snow, a place for all the snow people to go. The snow people love to dance. During a snowstorm it puts them in a trance. Have you ever tried snow people food? A good flavored ice cone can put you in a good mood. Snow people can travel on the wind. Snow people want to be your friend. Snow people enjoy a good snowball fight. Snow people enjoy the full moonlight. Perhaps to the beach one day the snow people might go, to surf a frozen wave while others cheer you go. Have you ever seen a snowbat, or maybe you have worn a snow hat? The snow people are about peace and joy. Have you ever given a snow child a toy? Snow people want you to be happy. A snow puppy can be real scrappy. Camille is the snow dragon queen. If you ever get to ride on her, it would turn into a dream. At this, Camille the snow dragon queen lowered her wing for Tulip to climb on. As Tulip started to climb on Camille's wing, a strange wind started to blow, and the northern lights started to glow. As they took to the sky, the snow started to fall, and they started to circle the little village over and over again. For a second it looked like Camille was making a giant tornado, but then it froze. As they landed back in the middle of the North Pole, all Tulip could tell is the village was now covered in a large clear globe, a snow globe. Many years later, some of Tulip's friends went looking for her in the last place she was seen, where they had made the snow people. But when they got there, all they could find a miniature version of the town and snow people inside of a snow globe. They knew a magic globe. The scene was never the same, and every once in a while they swore. They say Tulip in the village. Well, my friends, that is the end of Grandpa Elroy's story today. Until next time, stay blessed and keep the hope, my friends. Peace be with you. I wrote this story because I enjoy spreading hope and peace through storytelling. Blessing and peace be with you. Hello and welcome to all our returning and new friends and family. I hope all is well and blessed with you and your families. For those that don't know, I am Grandpa Elroy. Today I'm going to tell the story of the naughty thing. The naughty thing is not a bad thing, not on purpose anyway lol. The naughty thing is a pure child of Soak. Who is Soak? It's the base elements of creation, but that is a different story. Today we are telling the story of the naughty thing. The first time I ever meet the naughty thing, I was very young. It was a very different time, and the world was full of many races of all shapes and size, many working together in peace and harmony, and young creation beauty was everywhere. But that is a different story, but it's a great one. Hopefully someday we can talk about it. But today we are talking about the naughty thing. I was maybe 11, just a toddler in elf time. You see, elves age a lot slower than humans and therefore mature slower. When it happened, I was in my nursery. I heard a pop, and the lights went out and this small thing came in through the wall. I was frozen in place as I watched the small thing bounce from wall to wall, and every time it hit a wall it changed color and shape a little. Finally, it stopped on the floor just 2 feet in front of me. It looked solid, but it kept changing color and shape. It was only a couple of inches in size, and it was beautiful. It turned its little head to look up at me and said, "Hi, I was just born. You wanna play with me? I like having fun." The raw energy that came from the creature made me feel like I was in a dream. "Yes, let's play," I said. My new little friend then jumped up and down in excitement and said, "I like you. We are going to have some fun. I have some new paint. Do you know how to paint?" I said. My new little friend looked at me with intense interest and flames dancing in its eyes and said, "No. Please teach me. Oh, please, teach me." I got the paint and 2 pieces of hemp paper. Then I handed my new friend a paintbrush, but it was twice its size, lol. I dipped my paintbrush in the paint and started to paint the little creature on the parchment. As it watched me, it tried putting the brush in the paint, but it spilled and then the creature slipped in the paint. Lucky the creature jumped onto the paper, but it slipped right back off onto the floor, and it kept going like it was on skates, and it ran straight into the wall and then up the wall and then over the ceiling before dropping right back onto the paper. I laughed so loud at this and said, "That is a silly way to paint a room, my friend." The creature looked at me and said, "What is a friend?" "A friend is someone that is there for when you need help or a smile," I said. "I like smiling. It means we are having fun," said the creature. At this it jumps up and does a backflip straight into the paint, spilling the rest of it all over the floor and getting all over itself. "Oh no, I'm dirty," it said. And as it said, it started to spin and the paint started to fly everywhere. It seemed that the paint that covered the room looked like a tornado of colors had hit everything in the room. It jumped into my hands and said, "I'm clean now. What is next, my friend?" All I could do was laugh at everything that had just happened. "Maybe we should go outside and play," I said. "Outside, yes, if this outside is as cool as this, then we are going to have fun," the creature said. We went outside and played hide and seek, and I hid first. My new friend found me fast then. It was my turn to seek, but I could not find my new friend anywhere. It was then that my parents found me. "What did you do to your room? That was a very naughty thing to do," they said. I tried to tell them it wasn't me but my new friend, but since we couldn't find it, they didn't believe me. And it was weeks before it came back. The next time it showed up I was asleep. Wake up friend, it's time to play. Wake up please," it said. "What, who is there? What is going on?" I said, "Just waking up." "Oh great, you is awake, let's play a new game my friend," it said. "Oh I know it dark, let's go look at the stars and catch fireflies," I said. "This sounds like great fun." "I knew you were fun," it said. We climbed out the window, so we didn't wake anyone else. Once outside I pointed out a few constellations as we headed to a flower patch on the side of the village where the fireflies played at night. As we walked into the field, the fireflies were in full play and dancing. It was amazing. My new little friend jumped in excitement. Pretty, it said as it ran straight into the middle of the field. I ran right in behind it. Cup your hands like this, I said as I caught 2 fireflies in my hands. Oh yes, watch me, I can do it too, it said. And it jumped up, cupping its hands, catching one. Why do you call it a firefly if it's not on fire? It said as it looked up at me. At this I laughed so hard. It's because they look like the stars in the sky, and the stars are on fire, they say. I spoke. On like fire, like this, it said. It let go the firefly and reached out its hand to a flower, and it caught on fire, then it touched another and then another. Stop, I said. Look, you are burning the beautiful field, I said. Many other flowers had caught on fire, and it was spreading. That was a naughty thing to do, I said. As the fire was spreading, I started trying to stomp it out. Help me, I said. As I turned to see where my friend was, I couldn't find him, but several adults from the village were running to put out the fire. Which was easy, with early elf magic was strong. A little while later I was standing there with my parents, of course once again with my naughty friend gone again. My parents didn't believe that it wasn't me that did the naughty thing. The next time I seen the naughty thing was several months later. Me and my parents were out for a picnic. I was chasing a frog into the nearby stream, when it appeared as I passed by a tree. Hi my friend, it said. As I was passing by, I was caught by such surprise that I lost my balance and fell down. Hey, where have you been? I asked. Oh yes, where have I been, lol. As it said this, it grabbed my hand. I could see people having fun and running, playing, adventure, causing harmless mischief, but sometimes this got out of hand, and as I was watching this, it sang this song. The naughty thing comes, and the naughty thing goes. The naughty thing likes to play, but the naughty thing is never here to stay. The naughty thing loves to laugh and smile. The naughty thing will chase you through the scary woods for a mile. Watch out for a naughty thing prank, like turning your bedroom into a fish tank. The naughty thing might paint you purple or yellow, or pop out of thin air scaring you saying hello. The naughty thing might hide your house, or turn your little sister into a mouse. The naughty thing likes to ask you what new games you have to play, but be careful what you say or play, because you will probably pay. The naughty thing doesn't mean you any harm. The naughty thing definitely has a certain charm. If you play a naughty thing game, you might lose everything, including your barn. The naughty thing likes dancing by the fire under the moon, or running through a field of flowers at high noon. The naughty thing loves to hide things like your hat or shoes. If you play with the naughty thing too much, it might give you the blues. The naughty thing just wants you to have fun, but when the naughty thing comes, you should probably run, or you just might be cleaning up a ton. The naughty thing wants to be your friend, but will leave you alone to take the blame in the end. At this I stood up and backed away from it. I knew you were a naughty thing, I said. No, I'm not a naughty thing. I just want people to be happy, the naughty thing said. And it started crying. You wouldn't believe it, but for as small as this thing was, as soon as it started crying, there was as a big puddle under it. The naughty thing kept crying as it stepped onto a leaf, and as it kept crying, in just 5 seconds its little pond had started to join the creek, and then just as fast the creek started to turn into a river and started to flood the area. I turned and ran to my parents, and they were already grabbing our stuff and running with me away as the water continued to rise. I tried to tell my parents later, when we were safe, that the naughty thing had come back and caused the flood. They said it was probably a water nymph. There were many beautiful and mysterious creatures in the old time, but that is a different story, and today we are talking about the naughty thing. It wasn't until I was in actual life and death trouble years later that I seen the naughty thing again. I had climbed up to the top of our house. Our house was in a tree. Our whole tribe lived that way, and these trees were 10 times bigger than the modern-day redwoods. Me and some of the other younglings were playing a game that has 3 levels and 3 people on each team. It's kind of like basketball, kind of lol. When one of the passing adults said the scene, Camille, the mother of all dragons flying over the woods, we started climbing. The others were older and faster than me, but I was trying my best to keep up and almost got to the top when the branch I grabbed broke, and I started to fall. I tried to grab anything, but I couldn't get a grip. As I was falling, I could see a couple of the others looking down at me. One even screamed out no. Then I was falling past our gaming area and I started to think about all the things I was going to miss out on, all the lost fun. Then I was falling past the houses and I started thinking about all the smiles of my family and all the laughs we won't have anymore, and I got really sad. All of a sudden I heard a loud pop, just like I had years ago in my nursery, and I stopped falling, just hanging there. That's when the naughty thing appeared on my chest. "Hi friend," said the naughty thing. "What? How?" I said through tears, trying to stop the hysterical crying that I didn't even realize I was doing. "Why are you sad? Is it because you is falling? Can you not fly? Please don't be sad my friend, I will help you, that is what friends do," said the naughty thing. At that we were transported to the back of something big with wings in the sky. A dragon. It looked back at us, and I knew it was the Mother Queen of Magic, Camille. "No, wrong place, beautiful though," said the naughty thing. We were again transported, this time to my nursery, now playroom. "There, now you are safe my friend," said the naughty thing. "Thank you my new best friend. I thought you were the naughty thing, but I see now you are an angel of happiness and mischief, and I'm glad we are friends." At this the naughty thing jumped into the air and said, "Let's play another game." "What new games do you know? Lol, but that is another story." "Lol, sorry my friends, that's all the time we have today. Maybe another time I will tell you more about the adventures of Grandpa Elroy and the naughty thing. But keep in mind I have so many stories of all kinds to tell. Before I go, how many of you remember our other stories, the hippo reindeer, and of course who could forget Helen the Saint Elf? Well, goodbye for now my friends. Remember to carry peace in your hearts, blessings on you and your family, until next time. Hello and welcome back once again to all my friends, and I see as always, we have some new faces in the crowd. Thank you all for joining me for another story at the North Pole. I am Grandpa Elroy and today I'm going to tell you how Santa meets Mrs. Claus, but to understand that we must start our story when Santa first meets my son Valgar. Of course, you already know that Santa and Valgar had been friends before. With the help of Vixen and Helen, they came up with Christmas, but you didn't know that how long they had been friends or how they met. You see, Santa used to go by many different names. The most recognizable to most humans is his name Odin, the All-Father. Valgar met Santa just as he was changing who he was at his core. A true transformation of spirit. Valgar helped guide Santa through the loss of his old self and to finding his way in his new life. Our story both starts and ends in a coffee shop. Santa, Odin, stumbled through another in a long line of doors he had been in that night, not realizing that the sun had come up and he hadn't walked into another bar but a coffee shop. Santa, Odin, pushed up to the counter past the two waiting in line and demanded a horn of mead. Then he fell over and passed out. Santa, Odin, woke up 2 days later in the back room of the coffee shop. He was on a small cot and the room was full of giant bags of coffee beans. As Santa, Odin, sat up, he seen an elf. "Who are you? And how did I get here?" asked Santa. "My good sir, Odin, I am Chieftain Valgar, and you are in my village," said Valgar as he bowed to Odin. You see, in the time that Odin changed his name to Santa, there were still several elf and dwarf giant and a few other creatures' villages spread throughout the world. "Please my friend Valgar, don't call me that. I am no one, I don't have a name," said Santa. Odin, "Lol, you're silly my friend, all things have a name, both living and the dead, as you well know my lord." "What should I call you then my friend?" said Valgar. "Just leave me alone, please, leave me to my sorrow. I'm just a small ant in the great creation and there is nothing I can do to protect my people, said Santa, Odin. Oh, so you is sad, and well then I'll call you Santa. Lol, how does that sound, my friend? Said Valgar, and this made Santa laugh out loud for the first time in years. Well then, my new friend Valgar, my new name is Santa, said Santa. And at that they both had a big, long laugh. Now my friend Santa, you are in a new place with a new name. How about you start your new life with a coffee with a new friend, said Valgar. As they sat down to a coffee and talked about what was possible in the near future for Santa, an elf bard was strumming his lute and singing this song. All hail Santa the true, all hail Santa the new. Let your light shine on your dream, hold it together with a strong team. Cutting through time and space, with a twinkle and a smile on your face. Giving the gift of hope and joy, to every little girl and boy. You're about to meet the one that will hold your heart. She will be the one that really leads the team because she is very smart. Year after year your dreams and your team will grow, because the mother tree has blessed it just so. All hail Santa the new, all hail Santa the true. As the elf bard finished his song and walked Valgar's Aunt Jessica, Santa was immediately taken back by her beauty, and the aura that flowed from her. Valgar laughed so hard he fell out of his seat. Jessica walked over to Santa and took his hand. My Lord of Peace, said Jessica as she kissed Santa's hand. As Santa stood up, the bard started playing a lively tune and he asked Jessica to dance. As they began to dance, a glow started to grow around and from them. As the light engulfed them, they were transported to a beautiful, picturesque little snow village. As they danced, they floated around the town. There was a toy shop and several hot chocolate vendors. Then the song took a faster pace and they danced faster. As this happened, they started to fly across the whole world, seeing all the smiling faces of hope and joy that they will bring. Then the song slowed down and they were back at the little snow village, but they were sitting in two big chairs next to each other in front of a fire, eating cookies and drinking hot chocolate. As the song ended, they stopped dancing and were back in the coffee shop. Santa, still holding Jessica's hand, said, "Please, my heart, would you mind taking a morning walk with me and share the day with me?" "Yes, my Lord of Peace, please show me the way." At this they walked hand in hand into the light of the rising sun, smiling and sharing the stories of their life that brought them together. The day turned to 2, then 3, then a week, and then a month. Then before either of them knew it, years had gone by and Santa was bringing home a baby hippo, but that is another story. Well, my friends, I hope you enjoyed the story of Santa's heart. Remember, Grandpa Elroy is praying for you. Peace and blessings on you and your families. Until next time, keep your light shining, my friends. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to Story Time at the North Pole with Grandpa Elroy. This is our 6th story. We hope you have been able to hear and watch or read all of them. Today we are telling the puppet gift. My birthday is in 2 weeks and I'm going to turn 3. And my parents asked what I wanted for my birthday today, and I said a puppet. I had secretly wanted a puppet since last month when my parents took me to my first live puppet show. But my parents thought I was too little to work a puppet, so they said, how about a nice doll instead? As I walked away back to my room, I knew I had to show them that I could work a puppet. I took one of the many dolls I already had and tied some yarn to the hands and feet of the doll. I practiced all day in my room, but it was a lot harder to make my doll do what I had seen at the puppet show. I tried several different dolls and tried tying yarn in more places like elbows and knees. The next day I had a dentist appointment, and I brought my best doll puppet I had made. The dentist even clapped when I made the doll do a little bow before I got in the chair. 2 days later, on Saturday, we went to my aunt's house like we do every Saturday, and I got to hang out with my 2 older cousins. I brought 2 extra puppets I had made for them to play with. They were 4 and 5 years old. We went to the playroom, and I showed them what I had been working on and how to do it with their puppets. 3 hours later, when it was time to go, we said, "Wait, let us show you something." My mom and aunt came into the playroom and the three of us put on a little puppet show. We had the puppets start at a tea party and then dance and then go to a princess slumber party. My aunt told my mom what a great job the girls did with their little puppet show. I was hoping that my plan to get a puppet for my birthday was working. The next day we went to the park and I had my puppet go down the slide and ride on the teeter-totter. My puppet even helped me feed the ducks. Our park has a sand pit to play in and I built a castle for my puppet to put on a little show before we left, and one of the other kids helped. He had brought an army man who saved the princess from the evil castle. Several of the other parents at the park were watching and said what a cute show they had put on. On Tuesday we went to my grandparents' house, and as soon as we got there I grabbed my best friend, my grandpa. We went to work on a grand puppet show that we put on for my parents and grandma. When we were done, Grandma said she was born to be a puppeteer. At this they all had a good laugh and had to agree that she was very good. That next weekend was her birthday. She tried to have fun with her friends, but she kept staring at her presents. Finally it was time to open her presents, but when she was done there was no puppet. But then Grandpa said, "Hey best friend," and there he stood with 2 puppets. Oh, how she did jump and scream in joy, and then they put on a grand puppet show for the whole party. Oh, how puppets dance. What about when they give you that glance? It's funny when the puppets fight. The puppets are pretty in the moonlight. I like it when they puppets share a tale. I really like when the witch puppet casts her spell. The puppets move in my hand like magic. Most puppets' lives are very tragic. It was her favorite birthday so far. Well, my friends, that is all we have for today's story. Until next time, blessings and peace on you and your family. Remember, Grandpa Elroy is praying for you. Hello my friends, welcome back. It's been a while since Grandpa Elroy has told a new story. Today I'm going to tell you about Kula. You see, I met Kula once when I was younger, one time when I was playing with a naughty thing, but that is a different story. Today I am telling you the story of the amazing, wonderful, beautiful Kula. Kula, the amazing Kula, the wonderful Kula, the beautiful, as she was called by her fans. Well, at least if you asked her. "Kula, where are you?" called out her grandma, who had raised her since she was a baby. "That girl always dancing and singing and getting lost. I swear one day she'll get lost for real." "Kula, come back and do your chores," called out her grandma. Kula's grandma fluttered into the air, continuing to call out for Kula. Oh, did I forget to tell you that Kula and her grandma are Butterfly Faye. Butterfly Faye are the size of butterflies, with this tiny multicolored human-like bodies with deep-colored butterfly wings. Kula didn't hear her grandma. She was off on one of her adventures through the endless woods and meadows. She loved to play and dance and sing and meet new people and creatures and things. When Kula would meet someone new she thought was interesting, she would put on a little show for them. Most of the people were overwhelmed with joy and happiness and laughter. Many even shed tears of joy. One day when she was dancing and singing for a new friend, this friend said that she should put on a grand show for all the folks of the land. Kula had took that idea to heart. She started looking for others to be in her show. Her travels looking for other talents for her show took her far and wide. She seen many amazing things on her travels. The first thing Kula needed to find was the perfect place to have her show. Kula looked at many wonderful places. The first place she checked out was her favorite place to sing, in the swamp. It carried her voice across the waters and echoes off the trees. There was even a small spot in the swamp with enough dry land to put on a show, and oh, the way the light from the mist of the swamp dances off her wings was amazing. But there was nowhere for the crowd to watch from, so she kept looking. The next place Kula looked at the top of the tallest tree she knew of. This was her favorite place to dance in the sunlight. She loved to hop and flutter from the top of the branches of the great sister tree. Again she had the problem of no one being able to see her perform up there, so she kept looking. The next place she checked was her favorite cave. The cave had moss that glowed several different colors, giving off the most beautiful background for her show. But on the far side of the cave lived a family of trolls that didn't like noise, so not a place she could have her show. Kula had 2 more places on her list of possibilities. The next one up was a waterfall. Even though this place has a lot of seating around the bottom and the top of the waterfall was just too loud for everyone to be able to hear the show. Kula was down to the last place on her list, her favorite meadow. The meadow was quiet and had a lot of room. It also had a slight slope that would act as rows of seating, and they could have the show at the low end of the meadow. There was even a small creek that ran through the low end of the field, so Kula could do a little water act in her show. It was perfect. Kula had the place for her show. Now she needed other performers besides herself. Kula went home and ran up to her grandmother and told her all the places she checked and how she found the perfect place for her show. She then asked her grandma for paper and crayons so she can make flyers to hang up for her auditions. She was going to need all kinds of actors. Kula was going to need singers, dancers, acrobatics, musicians, swimmers, and all kinds of other positions filled. Kula's grandma helped her draw up several dozen flyers, and then they went for a walk and hung them up before it was time for dinner. 3 days later at the auditions, there was a line of many kinds of interesting creatures ready to try out. Not only to perform on stage, but there were many people that just wanted to help build the stage or work the lights or the curtains. Many people just wanted to be involved. Kula found as many places for people that wanted to help set up and work the stage and show as she could. Now it was time for auditions. Let's start with the acrobatics, and the dancers called out Kula. They watched many great performers leap and fly and dance across the stage. Now the singers called out Kula. Everyone at the auditions enjoyed the lovely voices. Now for the musicians, and then the actors called out Kula. Finally Kula called for the swimming talent. Kula had sent some of the stagehands to set up a table of food. After the auditions they all enjoyed a little buffet together as Kula assigned positions for the show. Next Kula had to teach the actors what to do and say, then Kula taught the swimmers where and how to swim. Kula also had to teach the musicians the music to play. Kula helped the acrobats and dancers with how to move for the show. Kula had a lot of fun working with the stagehands, setting up and planning the different areas of the show. Over the next few weeks Kula was so proud of how her show had really came together better than she ever dreamed of. Soon the big night was coming. Kula knew they were ready. Kula had just one last thing to do before she was ready for the show. So on the night before the show, Kula, her grandma, and everyone involved all gathered. Kula led the troupe on a small walk to the Great Mother Tree, where they gathered around and danced and sang and brought laughter and joy to the Great Mother Tree. The Great Mother Tree was pleased with their honoring of her, and promised to bless their show. The day of Kula's big show was here. As her and her grandma made their way to the meadow, they could see all kinds of creatures and beings, magic and non-magic creatures, also heading for the meadow. Many of the creatures knew Kula and called out to her and her grandma. Kula wished she had more time to talk to all her friends, but she needed to get to the stage area and make sure everything and everyone was ready. Plus the director always gives its troupe a speech before each show. As Kula finished her speech, they could all hear the crowd cheering and they were excited for the show. Kula stepped onto the stage, put her finger to her lips, and the crowd got quiet. Kula started singing. Soon the other singers joined in, then the dancers and tumbling and swimmers, and then the music. Then the music and singing got a little quiet as the actors started the show. As the show went on, the crowd cheered, laughed, clapped, they even cried a few tears. As the show came to an end, the crowd screamed for an encore. Kula didn't know what to do. She hasn't planned anything else. Kula froze with worry and anxiety. She was starting to panic. Then Kula's grandmother flew on stage and started singing. Then the cast joined in, then so did the audience. As they all started to dance and sing, a glow formed around them. This glow started to spread as it sped around the forest and swamp near the meadow. Everyone in these areas started to dance and sing also. The glow kept growing farther and farther across the land and water, the whole world and beyond. As the glow grew, so did the singing and dancing throughout creation and existence. Some say this is the heart of music in creation and existence. Some say this is the start of the song that never ends. Well, thank you once again for coming back to hear another one of Grandpa Elroy's stories from the North Pole. In case you've forgotten, I'm the official storyteller of the North Pole. I'm also the keeper of secrets and truth. I hope all of you are blessed. Remember, I'm praying for you. Peace be with you. Can't wait to see you again. I have several new stories I'm working on, and don't forget to check out my poems and comic books.
Hello, my friends. Welcome back to another one of Grandpa Elroy's stories for my new friends. Thank you for joining us. For those of you who don't know or have forgotten, I'm the official storyteller of the North Pole and the keeper of secrets and truth, and I'm an elf. Today I'm going to tell you the story of the lost frog dog boy. Deep in a sun-dappled forest lived a curious young frog dog who absolutely adored the woods. His heart was full of adventure, and every single day he'd venture out to explore all the amazing, wonderful, and beautiful things the forest had to offer. He'd wander past familiar streams and trees, discovering new flowers, strange mushrooms, and friendly little animals with each step. He'd traveled further and further, his world growing bigger with every journey, always making it back home just in time for dinner. Deep in the heart of the woods lived a young frog dog boy whose greatest joy was the sound of nature. The rustling leaves and the gentle whisper of the wind brought peace to his heart. Here, he was free. He invented his own games, always testing his limits. How high could he leap into the branches? How long could he swim against the river's current? He'd race up and down the small, rolling hills, feeling strong and alive, completely at home in his woodland playground. Deep in the woods, a little frog dog boy was wandering, feeling a bit lost. But his journey took a happy turn when he stumbled upon some friendly frog dog siblings from a nearby village. They instantly became friends and decided to share a secret. The siblings knew of a magical spot, a sparkling waterfall that tumbled into the most perfect swimming hole. What an amazing adventure for a day! They spent hours laughing and splashing, jumping from the top into the cool, clear pool below. After their swim, they lay on the warm rocks, watching the fluffy clouds drift by, shouting out all the funny shapes they could see. Saying goodbye was a little tough, but the frog dog boy smiled, knowing he'd always have these wonderful memories.
The young frog dog boy loved to tell his frog dog parents what he had seen that day over dinner, every night when he got home from his trips in the woods.
Ever wonder what a frog dog dreams about? Well, for one little guy, dreams are his reality. One day, he spotted a majestic unicorn prancing through the forest mist. Another time, he chatted with a baby dragon on its very first flight, sharing tales of their adventures by a shimmering pond. He's even learned camping tricks from wise, traveling His parents just love hearing his incredible story. What amazing tales will he tell next? One lovely day, late in the spring, a little frog dog decided he was ready for an adventure. "I want to go camping," he declared. His frog parents, being the caring folks they are, made him promise not to wander too far from home. They lovingly packed some yummy snacks into his hammock for the journey. With a happy heart, the young frog dog boy set off, traveling east for hours, eager to discover new and exciting sights beyond his familiar world. That night, the frog dog boy knew what he promised his parents. Don't go too far. But he also knew his fingers were crossed behind his back when he said it. He moved faster than ever, driven by a secret goal. This wasn't just a walk in the woods. It was a test he had given himself. Because more than anything, he wanted to be an explorer. And every great explorer has to start somewhere. Have you ever dreamed of an adventure? Our little frog dog friend sure has. He's packing his bags, ready to explore the vast frog dog swamps and meet all the amazing creatures living there. But his journey doesn't stop at the swamp's edge. He wants to feel the sand between his toes at the frog dog beaches, visit charming seaside villages, and maybe even learn to surf. And oh, the food! He dreams of visiting the great farms and tasting the freshest fruits and vegetables. What amazing sights will he see? Deep in an ancient, whispering forest lives a young frog dog boy. This isn't just any forest. It's the ancestral home of the frog dogs, a magical place steeped in history. While many have moved on, a few families, like his, remain. They are the sworn guardians of these great woods, tending to its ancient trees and hidden groves. Every rustle of leaves, every sunbeam that filters through the canopy tells a story of their dedication and love for their home. The great forest stretched on further than the young Frog Dog Boy had ever gone before. With the sun dipping low, a sense of urgency pushed his little legs faster. He had to find a place to camp for the night. Just as the last light faded, he stumbled upon a tall clearing with a beautiful pond. The rising moon cast a silver glow across the water. It was perfect. He quickly found 2 sturdy trees and set up his hammock, ready for a peaceful night. The Frog Dog Boy sat beside the still water, watching the moon climb into the night sky. He listened to the familiar symphony of the great wood shrubs rustles and the gentle sigh of the wind. At first it was all the same, just a new spot on the map. He felt a little let down, hoping for something truly different. Well, he thought, at least I have set a new distance record. But just as he started to climb into his hammock, a sound unlike any other echoed through the trees, stopping him in his tracks. What was that sound? The young Frog Dog Boy sat up in his hammock, ears perked. It was distant, farther than the edge of his camp, but he was sure he'd heard something. He waited, holding his breath, listening for it to return. But only the quiet hum of the night answered. Eventually, his eyelids grew heavy, and he drifted off to sleep. He was usually a vivid dreamer, but tonight was different. His dreams were not filled with adventure, but a strange, quiet fall. The world was still dark, cloaked in the quiet hours just before dawn, when a strange sound woke the young Frog Dog Boy. It wasn't just one noise, but many, a chorus of creatures calling from somewhere deep in the woods, far from his small camp. He knew he should get an early start home, but curiosity pulled at him. He'd been late his whole life. Why should today be any different? With a shrug, he packed his gear and set off towards the mysterious sound. The young Frog Dog Boy raced through the great woods, faster than ever before. But still, the sun was already peeking over the horizon by the time he got close. He'd been following a strange noise, but ironically, it seemed to fade the nearer he got. Slowing down, he entered a small clearing. In it were bizarre buildings and frog dogs who looked just like the travelers E.D. sometimes met on his day trips. The young Frog Dog Boy yearned for more adventure, but the sun was already high in the sky. He knew getting back before midnight would be a real challenge. As he turned to leave, a strange robed frog dog with a pointy hat and walking stick appeared before him. "Excuse me, sir," the young frog dog stammered. "I must be on my way home now." The figure chuckled softly. "Well, my little one, aren't you quite the explorer? I am Darkstar, the spirit wizard of the frog dog people." Scene opens with a wise-looking frog dog wizard, Darkstar, facing a young, curious frog dog boy. "I'm here to help you," Darkstar's voice rumbled, "so that you will help me when the frog dog people are in trouble. This trouble is many years from now, but your spirit is needed." Darkstar leaned closer, his eyes twinkling like distant galaxies. "But first, we must help you grow your spirit and your connection to our people." The young boy looked up, his expression a mix of awe and confusion. How do you plan to help me?" he asked. Darkstar chuckled as he handed the young boy a shimmering amulet. "Take this and get lost," he said with a wide, toothy grin. The little frog dog looked up, completely bewildered. "Get lost? Is this a joke, sir? I just want to get home." Darkstar laughed again, a deep, rumbling sound. "I mean travel. See things you've never seen before. Then, in 1 week, when you are truly, magnificently lost, use the amulet." They stood together in the heart of the great forest. "How is putting on jewelry going to help me, old sir?" the young Frog Dog Boy asked, puzzled. Darkstar, the Frog Dog Wizard, let out a deep, knowing laugh. "You break it," he exclaimed, "and its magic will bring you right back here to this very moment, as if you never left." "But," the wizard warned, his voice growing serious, "you must be truly and utterly lost, and you must use the amulet before 7 days are over." The little Frog Dog Boy stared up at the towering trees of the great forest, his eyes wide with wonder. How do I know any of this is real?" he stammered, looking at the wizened Frog Dog Wizard, Darkstar. The wizard simply chuckled, a deep, rumbling sound. He raised a hand and began to count backward. 8 6 6 4 3 2 1. On the final count, a loud pop echoed through the woods. And just like that, standing beside the boy was his perfect double. "Welcome back, my little Frog Dog Boy," Darkstar said warmly. "Now, be on your way home. Hurry, you're running late," said Darkstar, the Frog Dog Wizard, as they stood in the great forest. Don't tell the other Frog Dog Boy anything of where you've been, or he won't be able to get lost." The first Frog Dog Boy, who had just appeared, nodded thankfully and hurried home. "That was amazing," said the second boy. With a sense of wonder, he turned and walked into the trading camp, ready to begin his grand adventure of getting wonderfully, magically lost. Have you ever dreamed of seeing what's beyond the world you know? Our little Frog Dog friend sure did. With a heart full of courage, he convinced a group of traveling traders to take him on their journey. Within the hour, they were on their way. For the first time ever, he saw the world outside the great forest. His eyes widened at the sight of vast fields, little huts dotting the landscape, and hard-working Frog Dog families. A brand new adventure was just beginning. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Frog Dog Chronicles. The mountains loomed in the distance, a majestic sight, but our Frog Dog Boy knew his path lay elsewhere. As twilight painted the sky, he and his companions stumbled upon a lively farming village nestled by a river. The air was filled with music and laughter. It was a harvest celebration. Our young traveler was swept up into festivities, tasting delicious new foods, chatting with wise old farmers, and even sharing a dance with some charming Frog Dog ladies. What a night! Bright and early, a little Frog Dog Boy waved goodbye and hopped onto a boat with a friendly group of traveling frogs. Their destination, the legendary Frog Dog Swamps. As the boat chugged upriver, he leaned over the railing, his eyes wide with wonder. He saw shimmering fish, colorful birds, and ancient trees draped in moss. When they finally arrived, the village was alive with music and laughter, celebrating a huge fish catch. That night, swaying gently in a hammock, he drifted to sleep, dreaming of the swamp's magical, glowing color. The morning sun peeked through the swamp mist as our little Frog Dog friend waved goodbye to the village. He hopped aboard a boat with a lively troop of traveling frog dogs, their journey just beginning. They paddled up the river, leaving the familiar lily pads behind for the wide-open coast. As they reached the sparkling ocean, amazing sea creatures swam alongside them, greeting them on their way. Finally, as the sun set in a blaze of color, they arrived at the islands, home to the beach-dwelling frog dogs. What a beautiful sight! Last night, I washed up on the shores of this amazing island town with my fellow traveling friends. As the sun peeked over the horizon, painting the sky in beautiful colors, I met the sweetest Frog Dog girl. She gave me the grand tour of the island and, get this, tried to teach me how to surf. We spent the whole day riding the waves, or at least I tried to, right up until the sunset. To cap off a perfect day, all the islanders gathered for a huge bonfire party on the beach. What an adventure! When the Frog Dog Boy woke up on the island beach for the second day in a row, he thought, this must be what a vacation feels like. But he knew it was already day 5. He only had 2 days left to get truly lost, break the medallion, and finally make it home. He had traveled far, but it wasn't really lost yet. He was sure that with just a little help, he could still find his way back. Time was running out. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Our little Frog Dog Boy has been on quite the adventure. 2 days ago, he arrived on this beautiful island, but now it's time to say goodbye. His mission, to explore the vast and wonderful world of the frog dog, and he's not done yet. He's met farming frog dogs, swamp frog dogs, and now island frog dogs. With the sun high in the sky, he pushes his little boat back into the ocean. What amazing discoveries lie beyond the horizon? Let's find out together. Don't forget to like and subscribe to follow his journey. The little Frog Dog Boy rowed his boat, seeing nothing but the vast, empty ocean. He wasn't quite ready to admit he was lost. Suddenly, the sky turned dark and a massive storm rolled in. Giant waves crashed over his tiny boat, tossing him into the churning sea. He struggled, but the ocean was too strong. Just when all hope seemed lost, he awoke on a shimmering shore. He wasn't alone. An entire village, built of ice and filled with friendly frog dogs, surrounded him. The Frog Dog Boy had traveled far and wide, but nothing prepared him for this. An entire village carved from ice, filled with creatures just like him, but he couldn't understand a word they said. This place wasn't on any map. He was truly lost. As night fell, the sky ignited with the ethereal glow of the northern lights, and a beautiful song filled the air. He didn't know the words, but it was the most amazing melody he had ever heard. The northern lights danced across the frozen sky, a beautiful but lonely sight for the lost Frog Dog Boy. Surrounded by the silent, icy figures of other frog dogs, he felt a surge of desperation. He pulled out the amulet, a gift from the spirit wizard, its surface cool against his paw. With a final, determined breath, he smashed it against the ice. A loud pop echoed, and the world dissolved, reforming into the familiar warmth of the great forest, with the wizard himself from a week ago, standing right there. Hello, my wonderful friends. Thank you for joining me once again. It's me, Grandpa Elroy, your official storyteller and keeper of secrets and truth. And yes, I'm an elf. Remember to check out our other picture, audiobooks, poems, and even comic books, all available for free right here on our YouTube channel. Until we meet again, Grandpa Elroy says bless you and your family. Peace be with you. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share to help our family grow. Thank you for joining us.
Have you ever heard of the legendary princess who was half human, half octopus? Let's dive into the incredible story of Isla, the warrior princess of the sea and land. Number 5. Divine parentage. Isla's mother wasn't just any sea creature. She was a powerful octopus goddess. Capable of shape-shifting, she took on a human form to walk among mortals. Number 4. A royal affair. On land, the goddess met and fell in love with a great human warrior king, renowned for his strength and bravery. Their union was a legendary romance that bridged two worlds. Number 3. A princess is born. Isla was the result of this epic love story. Born with the intelligence and royalty of her father, she also inherited the mystical, aquatic abilities of her mother. Number 2. A bridge between worlds. As a princess of both the land and the sea, Isla possesses unique powers. She can breathe underwater, communicate with marine life, and has the strategic mind of a warrior. Number 1. The Ocean's Guardian. Isla uses her incredible heritage to protect both her father's kingdom and her mother's ocean realm. Facing down any threat with the might of a king and the wisdom of a goddess, what an amazing tale. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more myths and legends. Thanks for watching. Ever wondered who the ultimate hero of the deep blue sea is? Let's dive in and meet the ocean's greatest protector. Number 5. This is Isla. She's no ordinary hero. She's half human and half octopus, giving her a unique edge. With 8 amazing tentacles and a human heart, she's perfectly equipped to help marine life. Number 4. Isla's mission is simple. Protect all sea animals. From tiny seahorses caught in currents to giant whales tangled in debris. She's always on patrol, ready to spring into action. Number 3. Her octopus abilities are her superpower. She can camouflage to sneak up on dangers, her tentacles are super strong for heavy lifting, and she can squeeze into the tightest spots to rescue trapped creatures. Number 2. She's a friend to everyone. Isla doesn't just save animals. She builds friendships, she communicates with dolphins, plays with sea otters, and guides lost sea turtles back home. Number 1. Isla is more than a hero. She's a symbol of hope and kindness under the sea, proving that anyone, no matter how different, can make a huge impact. Thanks for watching. If you love ocean adventures, don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories about Isla. Ever heard of the half-human, half-octopus hero saving the ocean? Let's dive into the top 5 facts about Isla, the ultimate guardian of the sea. Number 5. Isla isn't just a myth. She's a hybrid hero with the smarts of a human and the incredible abilities of an octopus. Think 8 superpowered arms and amazing camouflage. Number 4. Who's the villain? The evil Mermaid Queen. She and her minions are trying to capture innocent sea creatures for their wicked plans, and Isla is the only one who can stop them. Number 3. Isla has some seriously cool powers. She can change her skin color to blend in anywhere, squeeze through tiny cracks, and use her 8 arms to outsmart any trap the mermaid set. Number 2. Her mission is simple, but epic. Protect all marine life. From tiny seahorses to giant whales, Isla stands between them and the Queen's cliches, making the ocean a safer place for everyone. Number 1. Isla's story is a powerful reminder of how important it is to protect our oceans and the amazing animals that live there. She's the hero the deep blue sea needs. Hope you enjoyed these quick facts. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more awesome stories. Thanks for watching.
Forget everything you thought you knew about mermaids. Deep beneath the waves, a sinister kingdom thrives. ruled by a merciless queen. These aren't the singing sirens of fairy tales. They are hunters. With eyes that glow in the abyssal dark, they command legions of enslaved sea creatures. They will bend to a single, terrifying purpose. They lure ships to their doom, not for treasure, but for a feast. So, next time you look out at the ocean, remember what might be looking back.
Have you ever heard the tragic tale of the Mermaid Kingdom? Here are 5 chilling facts you didn't know about their evil queen. Number 5. The queen isn't a mermaid at all. She's a powerful sea demon who took the throne through dark magic and deception, cloaking her true form from everyone. Number 4. She rules with an iron fist using a magical amulet. This enchanted artifact doesn't just grant her power. It brainwashes the entire mermaid population into absolute, unquestioning loyalty. Number 3. The mermaids believe their queen is a benevolent goddess. They perform daily rituals in her honor, unknowingly feeding her demonic energy and strengthening her control over the kingdom. Number 2. The real royal family was banished. The true queen and her heir were exiled to the dark trenches, framed as traitors, with the mermaids completely unaware of their rightful ruler's fate. And number 1. The queen's ultimate goal is to plunge the entire ocean into eternal darkness, creating a realm where only she and her demonic minions can thrive. The mermaids, they're just pawns in her terrifying game. Thanks for watching. If you love dark fantasy stories like this, hit that subscribe button for more. Have you ever heard the tale of Isla, the ocean's unlikely savior? Here are 5 epic facts about how she saved the seas. Number 5. Meet Illa, a hero unlike any other half-human and half-octopus. With tentacles as strong as steel and a heart full of courage, she was destined for greatness. Number 4. The ocean was under the spell of a tyrannical mermaid queen, but this was no ordinary ruler. She was a powerful demon in disguise. Using a magical amulet to enslave the mermaid population. Number 3. Illa didn't back down. Wielding her unique weapons and ancient magic, she bravely confronted the fake queen. Knowing the fate of the entire ocean rested on her shoulders. Number 2. In a legendary battle, Isla used her incredible strength to shatter the demon's amulet. The moment it broke, the dark magic vanished, freeing the mermaids and defeating the demon for good. Number 1. With the ocean safe, the true mermaid queen returned, naming Illa the official hero of the ocean. A true legend was born. If you love stories of heroism, smash that like button and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching.